3 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. We got a lot to get to on the program. I'll echo, I guess, some of the things that Terry and Tyler had said on the Tyler Head Sports Experience.
Every day from 3 to 6.
That, well, it's 12 to 3, actually. We're 3 to 6.
Wow. What did I just do?
Huh?
How about that?
Finally.
Oh, it's my turn to mess up the show time.
And it starts right in the first minute of the first show of the new year.
It's a new year.
But that there are a lot of things to take from Tuesday's Citrus Bowl experience, and the football game seems to be third on the list of three. You may even have more if you want to go like subheadings and such. Can I get you to vamp for a minute while I adjust my microphone stand? Because, again, for whatever reason, this thing's falling.
I don't know if there's a person in this studio or in this radio station that's had more issues with the microphone before he gets to his seat than you do.
Right,
I think specifically
Thank you.
I think that is a special
I don't know why. It just keeps moving.
issue for you.
So South Carolina loses 21-17. Look, it was a good game for the neutrals, right? 4-point game. Yes, you were heavy favorites. Yes, you should have won the game. I said on Twitter after the game, this was far from South Carolina's best performance of the year. I can't tell you that I watched all 13 of Illinois' performances, but based on Illinois' resume and the research that I did, I would tell you that they probably couldn't have played much better based on what I looked at in preparing for the game. We'll come back around to the game. I just, mentioned there at the end of the halftime show, in all seriousness, I think locally the biggest story to come from this is going to be local player opts out at halftime and makes lots of people angry. The national headline from this was Beamer and Bielema go at each other during the game and in post-game social media posts. Where do you want me to start?
Let's do the Bielema Beamer stuff first.
So, okay. I just told my good friend Will King when we talked a little bit ago, and I told him I've compartmentalized the coach versus coach thing. Coaches for decade upon decade upon decade have navigated through tons of gray area. And they got back to the 25-yard line because they did not execute that play very well at all.
Yeah, I didn't like that play on multiple
I did not
levels.
like that. I did that. I
For a multitude of reasons.
I get the theoretical aspect of the play. It was poorly executed, man. In fact, unfortunately, both trick plays on special teams were simply poorly executed. I think you had what you wanted from, as Shane likes to say, the look. I felt bad for my guy Alex Huntley. He was open, man. You gotta hit the pass.
If that pass is a little lower and it's on a line instead of getting rainbowed over there, I mean,
you gotta hit the pass.
I paused it when I was going back and watching it today.
Yeah.
I paused it.
Yeah.
As soon as Kai's rearing back to throw the ball, Boogie's got like a 3-yard head start.
Oh, he's got you. He's wide open.
But that pass was lobbed to the point where 34 could go back and track it and get it.
And go get it. So anyway, let's come back to the kickoff play. Again, poorly executed, but, I know I can certainly appreciate and understand where Brett Bielema is coming from. All right, so there's that. All right, hit pause. Now, let's go to the substitutions, which may or may not have factored in as much, but it certainly had fans upset. If you watched on television, then, because I know thousands of you were there, but if you watched on television, you repeatedly heard the television crew questioning the officiating crew as to why some type of warning was not given for Illinois players to simply expedite the process of getting back out on the field. They were clearly doing as instructed, and that was to jog. You can't walk out there. And typically when you see these things being done, you will see players, when I say sprinting, you know what I mean. They are running to get on the field and get into position. Illinois defenders were not running to get into position. And that was, again, 100% acting on instruction from the coaching staff. Is that unethical? That depends on one's point of view. So both coaches, if you will, have a beef about ethics. If it's really ethics, because ethics typically is something I explain as
morally incorrect.
What one does in one's mind. But that's another story too. What I have taken issue with primarily, and I have gone back and forth with some folks on Twitter, and it's funny how I mentioned, as a quick aside, last year I had University of Washington fans that have never interacted with me in their lives, nor I with them, bombard me when I didn't put Michael Penix on my Heisman ballot. This year, it's Illinois and one Penn State fan.
A Penn State fan?
I guess just Big Ten thing.
Some Big Ten solidarity, I guess.
Yeah. But not happy with me over this. My biggest issue, and I'm not here to change minds. I'm here to give you how I view it. My biggest issue is that Brett Bielema openly, willingly, and dare I say, forcefully taunted the entire South Carolina sideline and football team in an extended period while walking across the field during an injury timeout. And that, as I have been able to gather, is what most upset Shane Beamer. I think, and I believe the television crew thought it, certainly the sideline guy, that is taunting. However justified Brett may feel in having done it, it is taunting. It is against the rules, unlike some of the other things that may be in a gray ethical area. And there was no flag. And then Shane went berserk. And there's the next part of this, right? I don't like how Shane... One quick middle finger type outburst is okay. Shane was being pulled back like George Brett in the Pine Tar incident.
I did count 3 assistants or staffers.
And these weren't just staffers, man. I don't know which guys it were, but when he finally was being, if you will, I'm air quoting, escorted off the field by his own personnel, I told you, what word did I use? Bouncers. These are big. These are biggins.
The biggins, yeah.
These are biggins.
They're doing the strength training.
Sir, you're going to need to leave the premises. Sir, only these were his people. So I didn't like that part of it either. But I fully understand, and I am ready to get your take on what the press box reaction was like in just a second here. But whether you're in the stands, in the press box, on the sideline, wherever, all I see is, a near 300-pound man in a headset and a clipboard walking across the field with his arms out, looking to engage as many people with eye contact as he possibly can. Mm-hmm. And that's taunting. So I get why Shane was mad about that. Again, the other stuff, like I said, television crew, take it as you will, as I often say. Television crews seem to question on multiple occasions why the officiating crew wasn't doing more to speed up the substitutions or to at least warn Illinois. Maybe they did and that was it. I don't know. You had a nice line on that I want you to discuss. And again, on the kickoff thing, I get it. I get it. It's a fine line, but this is certainly not the first time that this kind of thing has happened when it comes to, let's just call it gamesmanship.
Essentially.
Because in most ways, that's what it was. Give me, Elijah Campbell, what the press box reaction was in real time during the Bielema episode.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of confusion because we're all more so looking at the replay. I know I was, at least, at the monitor trying to see what happened to the kid who got hurt. Right? And at this point of the game, Lenoris gets that. I think he gets the first down there, and then it's kind of regrouping. It slows down, and then I look up, and all of a sudden Shane's being held back by three different dudes, and I'm like, he is absolutely losing his ever-loving mind right now. Really, there's a lot of confusion. Then, of course, get the phone out, start going to the TV broadcast because it's a little behind, so you can maybe catch you can catch some of the commentary. And somebody in the press box who was from an Orlando TV station was texting the ESPN sideline reporter who was reporting on it. And then that's when he told pretty much everybody that we're sitting with that it's over the substitutions, which is not correct. It ended up being erroneous in terms of reporting. But that was kind of what it was. And at the time, I was like, yeah, that is definitely taunting. Like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm flexing the rules on you. What are you going to do about it? And I was like, wow, that seems like a you-know-what kind of move. And it turns out he was mad about what happened on the kickoff, which seemed, something everybody in the press box completely forgot about. Thought the play itself was a little
what was
bizarre.
it, like 45 minutes prior in real time?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure how long.
It was early because this was late in the third quarter. That was earlier.
Yeah.
That was like relatively early in the third quarter. After Illinois scored the touchdown, I believe, to go back up 14-10. And I don't even think it was that drive. I think it was like maybe two possessions before that. But there was confusion as to why everyone was seemingly so popped off and mad at that point in time. Because it could have been a bunch of things, right? A coach over there thinks maybe something dirty was happening to the player, whatever. I mean, it could be a lot of things. But really, in the press box, there's just a little bit of confusion. And then, obviously, we're all sitting there like, okay, well, this will be a fun presser because I know exactly what's going to be asked is to clear the air on exactly what happened in that specific spot.
Well, I think Shane said what Bielema did was Bush League. I don't disagree. I do not like Shane's physical reaction. I'd like to see a lot more restraint there as well. But I understand why he was really hacked off. Because, again, you're openly taunting the opponent. It's different than I see guys jaw, and we see it, especially we'll see it.
Is that much different than jawing, though? They're far away from each other unless you're just going to yell really loud.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I think one of the differences in football relative, like we see in basketball, you'll hear coaches go back and forth.
Baseball, that happens a lot.
You'll hear dugouts go back and forth. It's a lot different in football, I think. You can try to make eye contact, and let's face it, even in football, in very rare exceptions, everybody leaves the field on opposite ends, and all. It's just harder, I think. So it's something we just aren't accustomed to. We got a lot more to get to. We'll talk about the football. We'll talk about Nick Immanwori. Oh, by the way, a quarterfinal game will be kicking off in 45 minutes for reasons that are incredibly unfortunate, and we will get into all of those things for you, too. We want to hear from you on the phones and on the text line, 803-404-6100. It's the first post-game show of the new year. If you're like me, you already like to do yard work. But if you're not like me, then make one of your New Year's resolutions to get into the yard to make that little piece of earth that you call your own look even better all year long. And one place above all others stands out to make that happen a whole lot easier for you. And that is my good friends at Cato's Power Equipment. Ben and the crew, the family really, have owned Cato's since the early 1980s, all right? Still local, still historically located, as I say, at 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, just a couple of steps away, if you will, from Two Notch Road, that part of town. Very easy to find. Whether you cut your own backyard, whether you do it for a living, see Cato's for excellent sales, service, and advice. So many new modern products, many of them now battery operated, a lot less to break down, which means you have a lot more time to get the work done. 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, and always online at CatosPowerEquipment.com. Resolved to make the yard look good with Cato's. 20 minutes after 3 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. Hope your New Year's Day went well. One of the games yesterday was good. One of the games yesterday was a classic. Yeah, classic. Way to go, Arizona State.
Turns out crazy stuff can happen when you play the game on the field.
Yeah, and it also turns out that if you're the most talented roster in the country and you finally decide that you should act like it, you might actually win football games by a convincing margin and prove to people that you do belong in the discussion.
Or when you realize that you have the number one offensive player arguably in college football on the roster, that throwing him the ball would probably behoove you.
We'll get into that, and then I guess Penn State played on Tuesday night. They won comfortably.
Kind of got out of hand late when Boise State had to get desperate.
Yeah.
Boise State hung in there.
Yeah.
It's like 3.5 quarters.
Yeah. They hung around. I'll give you that. They did.
It was a 3-point game in the fourth quarter.
Well, it was for a second, wasn't it? That's true. For briefly. But anyway, and then again, Georgia and Notre Dame will be kicking off at 4 o'clock. Look, this is not really the forum to discuss the reasons as to why this game was postponed by 20 hours, but obviously just beyond awful.
Horrific.
And dare I say nightmarish. So,
yeah.
But, here's hoping, I think it's going to be hard for a lot of people to let's put it this way. I don't envy what coaches Freeman and Smart are going to have to do to kind of mentally re-engage their guys because, everybody's human and both hotels are in the area. I think Georgia's was closer, and if I understood correctly, Georgia players are basically in at least like an on-premises lockdown.
Yeah, I think so.
Not that the Notre Dame guys were going to go out and do whatever. I don't want to overstate it. I don't know, but I saw Marcus Freeman doing an interview about it, and just awful. But they will play football because that's life goes on, and that's part of what we do. I know there were some calling for maybe moving this to another city, and I think it was so late, if you will, in terms of when these things happened that, and you can't take this opportunity from these young men. So, but we'll keep you updated throughout the course of the afternoon. That will kick off again in a little less than an hour from the Superdome. In the meantime, 803-404-6100 discussing Carolina's 21-17 loss to the Illinois Fighting Illini. In the opening, if you just tuned in during the break, we kind of did the coach versus coach thing. And like I say, everybody's got some pretty strong opinions on this. I've had some of you that are Carolina fans hit me, and obviously those folks are far more in Shane's corner. Whereas, guess what? The Illinois people, and it is funny, like, again, I don't know. I guess things just get out there and people maybe go searching for it as much as one dude hit me. I saw the timestamp. It was like 11:56, I think, on New Year's Eve. I'm like, bro,
what? Shouldn't you be busy?
Like, come
right
on,
now?
man.
Like, come on.
What are you doing? Game ended at 7. I tweeted it like 7:15.
Clearly wasn't at any type of ball drop.
Hit me tomorrow,
event.
man.
Yeah.
Hit me tomorrow. We'll discuss. It'll be fine. You call the show. So they call the show. I'm here 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. But anyway, the next big story is Nick Emenwari. And this, too, has divided opinion. And when I say divided opinion, I don't know if it's 50-50. I would say it's not. And if you don't know, maybe you didn't tune in to the game, and maybe you don't know what happened. But Nick Emenwari, Carolina's safety, Irmo High School product, local kid, at halftime decided he was done with his collegiate football career. and didn't tell anybody that was what he was going to do until I guess at some point during halftime. The word is, and I haven't been able to verify which coach, but that he told coach, hey, I'm not going to play in the second half. I'm assuming, and I'll be careful, but I would assume that it would be his position coach, Torian Gray. Shane did get wind of it eventually, right around the start of the half.
Which is probably not the best time to get wind that your starting safety is pulling himself from the game.
Is not. And not just a starting safety. I mean, all-conference performer, freshman All-America a couple years ago. Again, expected to be, at worst a day 2 draft pick. I don't think he'll be a day 1 draft pick, but a day 2 guy, right? And that puts you in, if I do the math correctly, in the top 100 players in the country going into the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know yet. And again, much of the confusion and many of the questions about this can be answered if Nick Inmanwori will speak. However, he may choose to do so. And let me say, too, this is not like shameless here. Nick, if you want to come on the show, we're happy to let you talk.
It's a platform.
I know some others in the media have basically extended the same type of invitation to Nick to tell his side of the story. At some point, we will get greater detail. There will be, I don't know when, they haven't scheduled it yet, but Shane will do a postseason wrap-up here soon enough. And we'll hear more from him. Clayton obviously just signed and by the way, congrats to Clayton, big contract extension that's going to take him north of $2 million here in the next coming year or two. I'm sure Clayton will have some things to say about this. I can only imagine, Elijah. Therefore, all of those things I say about a lot can be cleared up when we hear from Nick. I can only imagine that Nick's mind in some way was influenced by the Cam Ward decision, if you will, last week in their bowl game. Who did they play?
They played Iowa State.
Iowa State, that's right.
The Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was fun.
Same stadium.
Yeah, I know, right? That bowl game, they have 4 bowl games there?
Ooh, I don't know about 4. No, they just have those 2.
No, and the Cheez-It Bowl, right? Isn't that a thing? In addition to the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl?
No.
There's no more Cheez-It Bowl. Is that now the Pop-Tarts Bowl?
I think so.
Okay.
Or it used to be the Russell Athletic
that one.
Bowl.
Okay, so that's the Pop-Tarts Bowl now? Okay.
Yeah, that's the Pop-Tarts.
I was thinking there was also a Cheez-It Bowl and then the Cheez-It sponsored Citrus Bowl. Let's move on.
My head hurts.
Cam Ward and, well, let's put it this way. The entire Miami, that's, again, something that was predetermined. Same thing with Malik Neighbors last year with LSU. Predetermined. They're going to try to break a record, and I'm going to hang it up. Done. Everybody's good with it because you know in advance. That didn't happen with Nick Inmanwori, and that makes it a lot more problematic.
And I think the surprise from Shane Beamer was evident in the post-game presser. A lot of what I was going through mentally after the game was the response because he wants to shut down any type of notion that Nick quit. Maybe that was the plan, and they saw what the reaction to Cam Ward doing it was. And they decided to protect him. But the more I think about it, the more I go back and listen to his reaction to Allen's question. And he said, it's an internal team matter. I'm not going to talk about it. Like, he was pretty short about that. Even apologized to Allen afterwards for being short. But he's like, I'm just not going to get into it. I think you don't have that type of response. The more I think about it, if it's something that you planned on doing or you're protecting a player. I think you're holding your tongue because there's stuff that you want to say.
Yeah.
But you didn't want that to be the forum in which that stuff was said.
Yeah. By all accounts, through questions I have asked since the game, again, no one knew until halftime. Plenty more to do on the postgame show. Talking Carolina, Illinois. The Illini get their 10th win. The Gamecocks denied that chance. 21-17 final. The season is done. And we spent the first half hour really talking more about the extracurriculars, if you will. The coach versus coach situation. Nick Eamon-Warry bowing out. It is time to talk a little bit about the football in this game.
Because it was played.
It was. And
for both halves.
Statistically, look, it was a 4-point game. This, again, for the neutral college bowl game observer, I imagine they liked this game. If you're a Carolina fan, you did not. And I certainly understand that. But you look at some of these stats. Illinois gets 22 first downs to Carolina's 20. Both teams good on third down. Illinois, percentage-wise, better. But Carolina was 9 of 16 on third down. I'll take that every day.
That was fine. And both teams only had 5 yards to go on average on their third downs. They set up decent third downs for themselves.
Illinois was 8 of 12. Carolina was 1 of 3 on fourth down tries. Illinois missed theirs. Gamecocks outgained them by 33 yards. South Carolina won the turnover battle by 1. 2 for Illinois, 1 for the Gamecocks. Carolina had more penalties. And a couple of them were bad, but, not terrible. The big difference to me was Illinois running at 5.2 per carry to Carolina's 3.9.
That made a massive difference in this game.
Over the course of the 4 quarters, it absolutely did. And that was the thing that was maybe my biggest concern was how well Illinois ran the football. We just got a hit on Twitter from Trey. Trey says, I don't care about the kickoff or the taunting. I'm more upset about Eamon-Warry and how Lenoris looked handicapped by Shula. I do not agree with that last part. I'm sorry. I don't. And let me say this. I'm not saying that these 3 plays alone, if you make them, win you the football game. But there were pivotal moments in this game where South Carolina had the opportunity and didn't make the play. The first we've already discussed, and that was the fake field goal. The play was there. You have to execute the play. You didn't. Again, that was early enough. What was the score then? 7-3? I mean, that was early enough that it wasn't going to win you the football game, but it certainly changes the atmosphere.
It takes away a scoring opportunity.
The second one that I think was huge, South Carolina had taken the lead at 17-14 and had Illinois in 3rd and long. I think it was, did we decide it was 3rd and 8 on that play?
Mm-hmm.
And you had the pass covered, and you've kind of Altmaier made a nice throw, but I think Collier kind of defended it oddly, and they end up getting the first down there, and they go on and march down and take the lead. If you had gotten that third down, because on first and second down, you did a good job. Did a good job.
Held up.
And you felt good. And you needed to make that third down. And you forced them to punt. And you not only that, but you'll probably get the ball back around the 30, and you're in good shape with the lead. And you were feeling good about yourself for a few minutes there. But there was really no panic even when Illinois, went ahead. And South Carolina had the chance to come down. And the third play, after all of what happened, the third play of my 3 was the fourth down play where you could have won the football game. Well, I say could have won the football game. You would have gone ahead very, very late. And the play was there. You didn't hit it.
You just got to make the throw.
Yeah, I mean, you got it. I mean, Lenoris just has to make that throw. Lenoris had several balls that he just missed. So, Trey, I get that, listen, a first game in a bowl with a new OC, doing the game plan and then implementing the game plan is going to be different than the flow of what Lenoris and Dowell had established during the 6-game win streak, and really even the game against Alabama. So I'll go 7 games in a row where they were on the same page all the time, right? I think they got on the same page in the LSU game, and then it got disrupted with Lenoris's injury. And then by the time, you got to the Alabama game, they got it back, because I thought the Alabama game was a good game for Lenoris minus the fumble. So it's easy, and this happens across the sports spectrum, or at least the football spectrum. Well, let's just blame the offensive coordinator for a bad offensive day. Mm-hmm. Well, Norris has to hit the open man. And then there was one play Elijah and I were just discussing in the second half. I forget exactly. I guess it was in the fourth quarter, if I'm thinking. Lenoris was trying to hit a receiver near the Illinois sideline, but he had first down yardage in front of him with no defenders.
Green grass ahead of him.
And decided to throw the football, which in and of itself is fine. but you need to hit the pass. If not, Lenoris typically runs the football there. And on, I said Saturday, on Tuesday, during the game, whatever. I don't know what day it is.
None of this is real.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. During the game, he didn't run. And there were a few times when he didn't run. I don't know if that is Shane and Mike telling Lenoris, "Hey, today you're just not going to run. We're gonna work on the throwing," or if Lenoris was doing it, or if it was a combination of the two.
Or it was a, "Hey, don't take hits," and if he didn't think he can get to the sideline fast enough,
right?
Or thought the throw was there and he can get more on the throw.
Yeah, and look, quarterbacks will often think that. And Lenoris must grow in the pass game, and this presents an opportunity for you to do just that. But I have seen people saying this about Mike Shula, and what I saw was, again, on multiple instances, including the most crucial moment of the game, Mike Shula dialed up a perfect play. You got to hit the pass. Mm-hmm. It's that simple, y'all. Day. It's that simple. It came down to a play, if you will, and South Carolina didn't make it. The play was there. You got it. I mean, Josh was open.
He hits him on that outside shoulder, on Josh's left shoulder, or even leads him a little bit. He's catching that ball.
Yeah.
It's the fact that the ball was at his feet.
Yeah.
Opposite of where he was running.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, and that's I don't put that on Josh. I put that on Lenoris. You got to make a better throw. That's not on Mike Shula either. You got to make a better throw. The one, oh gosh, was it the second quarter, Elijah? Again, some of them run together on me.
The Jared Brown one,
middle of the
field. Yeah.
And it just I don't know where that ball was going, man. But it didn't go to Jared.
Yeah, it went behind him.
You know?
And that was like almost, it felt like maybe a timing thing.
Maybe.
You know?
But he missed him badly on that one.
Jared Brown had that corner beat by about 4 or 5 yards. He catches that in stride. He's picking up the first down with an additional 10 to 15 yards afterward.
Don't know if it goes to the house, but it gets you real close.
It keeps a drive alive.
Right.
And I think that's the killer, too, is that some of the throws he missed. Because he made some great throws.
He did. He had some good ones, too. Absolutely.
Like the one to Nick Harbor, near the South Carolina sideline on a wheel route. Yep. I mean, him and Nick Harbor on the the corner route.
Yep.
Near the sideline. Each time, there were like 2 instances on that exact same route, same play, where Lenoris put it in a bucket, and right where it needed to be, Nick made the play, and you picked the chunk play up, right? But there were a few times where there were throws that were missed, and it's worse when they're at third down or on third down, because then it just kills a drive.
Yeah.
You sustained a lot of drives in the game, but you either messed them up in the red zone or a couple of the ones didn't get going because of a failure on third down.
Right. And again, I want to give some credit to what is a good Illinois team. And I thought South Carolina, considering you didn't have Rocket, who was obviously your leading rusher and I think 4th leading catcher of passes on the team, if I remember correctly, that it was a difference maker. To what degree, I'm not sure. Oscar, I thought, did a fine job. I mean, he had the one big play. He was your leading receiver, if you will. He caught 7 to Josh's 6. Josh had a lot more yards, obviously. But I thought Oscar, and now we know that Oscar was playing on a bum ankle.
Tough kid, man.
Makes it that much more impressive, if you will. Again, every OC, every play caller wants a few things back during any game. Very rarely do you just go, you know what, man? Every single play we dialed up was perfect. Nobody's ever going to say that.
No.
But I saw, I see some things that he wants back, but I see some things that Lenoris wants back. But again, in what was arguably the most crucial moment of the game, the OC dialed up the right play, and you didn't hit the play. Mm-hmm. I think it's that simple.
And I think it might look different next year, too, whenever it's not a hindrance if Lenoris is taking hits, right? Like right. Here's the thing, too. Like, you don't want Lenoris getting really hurt in this game to where he might not be ready for next year.
Right. Yeah, or even for spring.
Because here's the thing. Yes, this bowl game was really important, but it's not important enough to maybe sacrifice the health of Lenoris and have him run the ball 20 times.
Correct.
Right? I think if this was even week 6 of next year, I think a couple of those runs that or the couple of those scrambles and breakouts and rollouts where Lenoris had green grass ahead of him, he probably does tuck and run.
I agree.
Right? And you hope that's the case because you don't want that element taken away from his game because that's where he is an incredible difference maker.
803-404-6100. Got one roster departure to tell you about from the Gamecocks as well, and we'll get you ready for the Georgia-Notre Dame game coming up in a bit. It's the Thursday postgame show. 11 minutes in front of 4 o'clock Thursday. Happy New Year. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. A couple of things. Tonight, we've got Carolina Calls with Coach Paris and the voice, Derek Scott. That's at 6, right after we're done. Tonight at 6:30 on our sister station, 98.5 FM, Carolina women's basketball at Mizzou, at the site of their last regular season loss.
Last regular season SEC loss.
SEC loss. Yeah.
They lost
Sorry. Conference loss because they lost to UCLA.
Yes. Now, before that UCLA loss, that sentiment was true.
Yeah.
And that was back in 2021?
It was right at the end of the year. They played a conference game right before
sometimes,
the
Sometimes with the conference schedule.
I like that the ACC and Big Ten do. The SEC needs to add a couple, but this because this conference is so incredibly mad over football that they've decided. I think I'm sure it's come up.
Yeah.
In discussion, hey, why don't we play a few conference games? In December.
They should do it anyway.
They should.
The conference is too damn big. You should play more teams twice.
Yeah.
Not doing so is cowardly.
Yeah.
Don't be scared of your own shit.
And the ACC's now playing 20 conference games.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you're going to have a large conference, especially in basketball, play your whole damn league and play more teams twice.
Well, that's why I want to see. Now with this.
Home and homes in league play are awesome. That's what makes college basketball awesome, right? Is that in the ACC, you get Duke and North Carolina twice. They have to play each other at each other's arenas.
Yeah.
South Carolina gets Mississippi State twice each year. Come on.
And Georgia.
And Georgia.
Don't forget that. And Georgia.
Come on. Stupid. Hate it. Cowardly.
So, just add more games.
Add games.
But anyway, tonight, Carolina at Missouri. It's a 7 o'clock tip. Brad will be on the call at 6:30. And again, that one will be on 98.5 FM here in the capital city. And I guess you can probably listen to it online somewhere.
You can. You can listen to it a lot of places.
Yeah. There you go. One transfer news bit for you today. Peyton Mangrum, Carolina receiver, former walk-on, announced that he will go into the portal and find one more year or find a place to play for one more year. Obviously, good kid by every account, hard worker, just wasn't cracking the lineup in any meaningful way. He played in 44 games in 4 years, but most of them on special teams. Let's see here. He had 6 receptions in his career, including what was a famous play, that fake, I guess, one of Kai Kroger's first touchdowns back in 21 against Tennessee. 102 receiving yards on those catches. So he has 1 year of eligibility left. Best of luck to Peyton Mangrum.
Would love for him to go to a place where you can play. The one advice I'd give anyone that goes in the portal: go to a place where you're going to play.
Yeah. I think he's from Greenville, so
be cool to see him at ECU.
Go no, not that Greenville.
Oh, go.
Yeah, our Greenville, not their Greenville. I don't know I'm just saying if he want, I don't know. I was just kind of throwing that out. Go to
Furman.
Yeah,
good program.
Yeah.
That's a program that gets themselves into their playoff pretty frequently.
You're going into a master's program somewhere. He has graduated, so I guess that matters too.
Get you a quality education somewhere.
They have master's degrees at Furman. I don't mean it that way.
Yeah.
You can go into a master's program.
We're not disrespecting the Dens. We would never disrespect the
Furman,
Dens on this program.
No. I got multiple friends that went to Furman.
We would never do that on this program.
Beautiful campus. Great. Listen, when I was a kid, man, Dick Sheridan, Paladins, they were good.
Hey, Ingle Martin was a really good quarterback over there. Former Nashville.
No, they're good. Yeah. But anyway, we'll see. And then I know in just a little bit, I don't know exactly what time. Maybe so I can find this out for you. Donovan Murph is announcing that. Is that coming?
That should be coming today. That All-American Bowl.
Yeah, the All-American Bowl is at 4.
The most popular game that's happening.
Well, then this should be happening any minute now.
Yeah, probably because they'll do it at halftime of these games or whatever during a commercial. Not a commercial break, right before they go to commercial break. Sometimes they'll have a player who's on the sideline with all of his caps or whatever.
Right.
We'll figure that one out really soon. That kid's a difference maker, man. Really hoping they pull through with him.
Yeah. So according to let me get this for you here, live radio. According to our good friend Wes Mitchell, let's see. Murph will announce his decision at Thursday's Under Armour game. The game itself kicks at 4 on ESPN2. Murph's decision will take place right before kickoff. So, again, all right,
Okay.
so that may actually be –
maybe by the time that we come back from break.
Yeah,
we'll know.
maybe. Maybe. Stay tuned. Georgia and Notre Dame are about to kick off as well in the final quarterfinal of the college football playoff. Again, this game postponed by 20 hours because of the incredible tragedy in New Orleans. We'll keep you updated on the Dogs and the Irish. More from Shane Beamer, more on the Gamecock Bowl game, the rest of the CFP as the postgame show rolls on. 4 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back in, and Happy New Year to all of you. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Second hour of the postgame show. We are live inside the Herndon Chevy Studios in downtown Columbia. Although we have these new blackout curtains.
They're lovely.
They look nice.
They look really nice.
They do, except there's one problem. They black out these like 10-foot beautiful windows that have us, look at Trinity Cathedral and the South Carolina State House.
Ain't nothing they haven't seen before.
Yeah, I know. I feel I told a coworker I feel like I'm working in a cave now.
See, that's how I like to work.
Yeah, see, I don't.
I do my best work when I can't see the sun.
I was told to
like a vampire.
I was told to not be such a diva about it. I was like, I don't know if I'm being a diva. I just, I like. Again, these really are nice. If you're watching on YouTube, can they see? Well, you can if you look over my left shoulder. Left shoulder.
It's a good setup. Cool setup. Got our logo everywhere.
Well, can I open that one down there then?
I mean, you physically can. I'm not going to stop you.
Well, apparently I'm told I can't.
Oh.
Because, they're not set properly or something.
Oh.
I don't know. But I kind of thought, having these blackout curtains over these big, giant windows is kind of like buying a house in the mountains with a view and then building a brick wall to block the view because there's a glare on your television.
The glare on the television's an issue.
Then move the television.
But what if you like it in that spot?
Well, then don't buy a house in the mountains.
But what if you have the money to buy the house in the mountains, Jay Phillips? You're never going to win this one.
No,
You're
I'm
never
not.
going to.
Nobody, believe me, nobody cares about my opinion of these blackout curtains. Trust me. I know.
I have won the war. We're going to work in a cave. I have won the war.
So, there's that. Again, they're very nice. They are. They're very nice. And if there was a need, for blackout curtains beyond just aesthetics, I'd say these things are killer.
They're beautiful.
But anyway, so how you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Yeah. We don't have. Let me see. Hang on. Let me just keep hitting the refresh. No, not yet. We do have breaking news. It is not about a Carolina potential commitment, but in the last half hour-ish, it seems, Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe declared for the NFL draft. This is not a surprise. Where does Mel have him?
I haven't seen Mel's latest mock, but I have not seen a single mock draft outside of ESPN.
All right, hang on.
Has him as a first rounder.
I'm sure it's. Hang on, just
he didn't really help his case.
All right,
this year.
Mel has him third,
as the third best quarterback
behind Shedeur and Cam. That's Cam Ward, not Cam Newton.
Who are the couple that he has behind him?
Hang on. So let's see. Milroe is 3. Drew Aller is 4. Carson Beck 5. Quinn Ewers 6. Boy, and then you're getting into Curtis Rourke at 7. He had a good year.
But he's not NFL worther.
Jackson
I'm not
Dart 8. Dylan Gabriel. Why is Dylan Gabriel so low?
I'll say age is probably why that he has him so low. But however, I don't like that. I've always hated docking someone for their age. If they can help you right away, they can help you right away.
I mean, and he's got some good numbers, man.
And he's a good pocket passer.
I mean, this year,
I think he's got an NFL type skill set.
73% of his passes completed, 28 touchdowns, 6 picks, 7 rushing touchdowns. He's number 9, and Kyle McCord is 10. So, Drew Aller. Now, I think Aller has the look of an NFL quarterback. Does he have the arm of an NFL quarterback? Because Drew Aller's a big boy.
He's gotten better this year, though. I mean, I think his first year as a starter, he really missed on a lot of deep passes, and they also didn't throw a lot of deep passes because I don't think really they trusted that arm, or they trusted his accuracy. I think he's always had the arm. The accuracy down the field has probably been the issue coming into this year, but this year they throw it down the field plenty. Andy Kotelnicki, their offensive coordinator, I think has done a fantastic job with him, kind of maximizing what his skill set is. I like Aller. He'll be back next year. He's declared that he's playing in 2025.
Did he? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which is why Prabula went into the transfer portal.
And yeah, that's right. And I mean, is Ewers is coming back, isn't he? I don't know if he'll be. I heard conversation this morning that
he comes back. I don't know if he's coming back.
He's not going to be at Texas.
No. Texas should rightfully move on to Arch Manning.
I think that Sark is going to, when the time is right, which ain't yet.
They're still playing football.
Have a conversation, right? Like, hey, you've been great.
I want to bring this up because we haven't brought it up just yet. Because we did get a call early in the first hour. He didn't want to go on air, but he just asked if we brought this up yet. Talking about the non-targeting call at the end of Texas-Arizona State.
Oh, I have thoughts.
Yeah, I think now would be a good time to get into that. I would take a quick reprieve from the bowl. We'll get to some of your texts as well because this bad boy's been blowing up. But that was interesting. Texas should have lost that game, man. They got outgained. They gave up 500 plus yards of offense to Arizona State, a team who really had one option on offense, and that was Scatterbo.
We do have breaking news from the Under Armour game.
Okay,
Donovan Murph has committed to South Carolina.
Boom.
There you go.
Love it.
Although on what I'm looking at, there are 2 I's in South Carolina. So
South Carolina.
I don't know if it's real yet.
Maybe
there's a typo.
Hey, maybe he he transferred to the University of South Carolina, which is a different school than the University of South Carolina.
But yes,
I have not heard of them.
So Irmo's Donovan Murph will be staying home and has committed to the Gamecocks. He is a 4-star prospect.
An Under Armour All-American. Kid's
right.
good, man. If you haven't familiarized yourself with watching Donovan Murph play, I highly suggest trying to find some highlights or whatever you can because the kid's made some incredible catches in his career over at Irmo. That was an electric offense. He's a big time dude.
Yeah, he's a 4-star, and you're going to see some numbers that make you go, wait, why is he so low in the rankings if he's a 4-star? This is a kid who has reclassified. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that he was as on the radar for some, in terms of like vaulting into the top 100 or something like that. He's a big kid, 6'2". He'll be 200 pounds by the time he's playing college football.
I would say he's a little thinner of frame.
Yeah, he's 190 right now, but he'll be pushing 200 by.
Get him into an SEC weight program, and then he'll bulk up.
Yeah. And they've got a bunch of 4-star kids coming into the class.
I love
that
that
receiver.
It's a stacked recruiting class from a receiver standpoint.
Yeah.
They brought in some really talented dudes.
So there you go. So again, there's a good breaking news. Donovan Murph, Irmo High School, reclassified wide receiver, 6'2", 190, 4-star prospect in the Under Armour All-American game, which is getting ready to kick off. That's down in Florida, right?
Yep. Again, the most popular game going on at 4 o'clock today.
Yeah. I do feel kind of bad that they couldn't move this one too, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
At some point,
logistics are what they are. And again, Georgia and Notre Dame kicking off in mere seconds. As to the targeting late, the non-targeting call against Texas, it was targeting. It was targeting by what we have seen called over the last 5, 6, 7 seasons. That's targeting. You had Matt Austin, former official, now one of the TV talking heads when it comes to officiating discussion on during the game, say it was targeting. You had, was it Macaulay? Who's the other one? What's the other guy's name?
Macaulay Culkin.
Not Macaulay Culkin. Terry. Anyway,
Terry Austin?
No, because it's Matt Austin and Terry. Anyway, that guy, the other guy also. This morning on something I saw a thing go by with him. It was definitely from his officiating mind, it was targeting. Now
Steratore tweeted it too.
There has been some discussion that because the ball was tipped, it negates the need for a targeting call. That is not true.
That's not the rule. No.
That is not true.
Pass interference if that was applicable.
Yeah, a defenseless player who is hit head on with the helmet of the defender, that's targeting, and I can only imagine, and now I am speculating. I've given you my opinion that I 100% believe it was targeting and that I was kind of flummoxed that it was allowed to go. I think there are times in the officiating world when they may say to one another, because let's face it, this is a reviewable play. While it is initially a subjective call on the field, it is the rare subjective call subject, there's that word again, to review. So that they didn't call it says to me, and again, I speculate, all right? Let me be abundantly clear. I'm speculating that they say, well, gosh, we don't want to have a call like that this late in the game decide the game. All right.
Which is why I hate that line of thinking.
But here's the thing.
That line of thinking.
Here's the thing. You did have that call late in the game help decide the game because you didn't call it. Either way, it's your decision as a crew to make or not make the determination on targeting. If you show that to them blindly, if you will, and I know that's an oxymoron, but then they're going to go, oh, yeah, well, that's targeting. I mean, he lowered his head. He hit him with his helmet. The player was definitely defenseless because the player was turning and had nowhere to go. I mean, by clear definition, he's defenseless, if nothing else. Even if you want to argue the merits of exactly what the defender was wanting to do in terms of what his body position was. But if you had just shown me that and said, is this targeting? Yes, that's targeting. I don't care if it's the first play of the game or the last play of the game or anywhere in between in that hour of the game. That's targeting. So I'm not going to go so far as to say cowardly or anything like that. But when you're way too many times we just hear that. Well, we just don't want to call that late in the game.
I hate that. I despise.
I do too.
If it's a foul, if it's a flag or whatever, I don't care when it is. You have to call it.
You do.
If you see something that warrants calling it out of bounds on somebody, it's like the men's national championship game in basketball between Texas Tech and Virginia. We saw a video review where the ball did go off a Texas Tech player's finger. No matter how minuscule it is, if you see it and you ignore it, you're neglecting your duty as an official to call what you see. And in that booth right there, you're clearly seeing something that by the letter of the law is targeting. And if the part of the game affected how you called it, then you're neglecting your duty as an official to call what you see.
Right.
And that's my biggest beef with it.
And again,
I don't really care when it happens in the game.
I don't either.
You see that too, then what's the point of having the rule?
Yeah, why have the rule?
Throw them out the window in a certain part of the game.
And I would just say, 90+% of the time, that's going to be that's going to be called targeting. There again, even if for whatever reasons you've got on-field officials that don't call it, it's immediately subject to review in the booth, and then the booth official can urge the on-field referee to come look on the screen down on the sideline. So in that sense, that you had several minutes to look at it and then determine it wasn't targeting was baffling to me. Now, does that mean that Arizona State's going to go down and kick a field goal or score a touchdown and win the game in regulation? No, it doesn't. But it certainly it gives them a first down and 15 extra yards, and that play occurred right around midfield. So I
gives them a shot.
Yeah, it does. And there was still just under a minute to go. Then help me out there. Right around a minute.
Yeah, close to, because that was right after Bert Auburn missed one of two kicks in the final.
How about that too? Right, missed one wide and then doinked the other. But I think I absolutely believed that to be targeting, and I think they copped out, and I think they copped out because of when it occurred, not where or how. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
still, we end up getting an epic game.
Is there really anyone other than, and I don't mean this in a negative way, is there anyone other than Texas folk who are saying, no, that was the right call?
I will say our man Pops Frisbee on Twitter, I did see him have a tweet where he disagreed with people saying it was targeting.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I disagree with his assessment.
Yeah, I do too.
But
I didn't see that.
I respect the angle.
Yeah, to each your own. But that's a defenseless player, and he got hit with the crown of the defender's helmet. That's
Pops, you're listening. Call in.
That's targeting. 803-404-6100. Georgia and Notre Dame have just kicked off, and again, we had some good breaking news on Gamecock recruiting. We'll revisit some of that and more. What's going on around the CFP and the Carolina Bowl game when the postgame show returns. It's the new year. Time to make some improvements around the house. Then it might be time for you to take advantage of the equity in your home with a Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union home equity line of credit. First off, know this. Palmetto Citizens has been in business across the Midlands since the 1930s, all right? They know what's up around here, and that's the only place they do business, here in the Midlands. 14 very convenient locations, great online banking for you at palmettocitizens.org. And again, all banking needs at Palmetto Citizens can be done for you. But when you take advantage of their equity loans, you can take advantage of lower rates, lower fees at closing than you'll get with the big banks. And when it's a line of credit, you can access it over a 10-year period. So fix up the kitchen now, the bathroom later, that playroom for the kids. Apply online, check it out, learn about all they do. My wife and I are members. We love them. PalmettoCitizens.org. Here in 2025, achieve your potential with Palmetto Citizens. Welcome back in. Postgame show continues here on a Thursday afternoon. Happy New Year to all. Jay and Elijah with you. We'll have some updates on the latest Wild Card Showdown. I'm going to do better this time than I did last week. That's a guarantee. Georgia was just on 4th and 21 opening drive of the Sugar Bowl, and Drew Miller is their new punter. Their original punter hurt. He's done. What's his name again?
Brett Thorson.
Thank you. 4th and 21, but then Notre Dame, are they calling the 15-yarder?
They're saying running into the
kicker. Man. All right, so Georgia's going to punt again and make it 4th and 16. I think that's a 15-yarder, man. He got nailed.
He's saying it's because he hit his leg.
All right. Well, so okay. I thought, man, Notre Dame escaped.
It's a hard running into the kicker.
Yeah. We want to talk about subjective calls on the field. This to me is a 15-yarder. But let me tell you, oh boy, I don't know. That looked like a hip to hip.
Yeah, that did.
That's
a break for Notre Dame.
That is, man. That's roughing.
That poor kid got nailed. That was his first career punt.
But here's the thing:
his first career punt, and he just gets nailed on the kick.
The kid that hit him came free. So believe me, the biggest thing here is Kirby's going to be calling the special teams coach right now, going, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah, how does this guy get a free run?
How does he get a free run at our guy?
No one's happy on that play because Georgia's not happy that the kid got a free run at the punter. George is also not happy that it was only 5 yards instead of the
we
personal
don't need this
foul
kid
15.
getting hurt, right? If you're Georgia, it's like, wait a minute, who's going to punt?
How many punters do you have on the roster?
They got him again.
They just did it again.
They got him again.
Unbelievable.
My goodness.
If you're Notre Dame, at what point do you say, just stop, man?
I don't know if they'll get a 15-yarder on this one, but he also had free run.
That's the same play.
Yeah.
The same play just happened twice.
You had free run at him again.
I'm not kidding, Jay. I think I just had a sense of like deja vu to the point where I had to question myself of, did they show a replay? Or is the TV
I know we're not supposed to do this on live radio, so I apologize. I mean, it's real time, and it's such a huge game. But that's 2 plays in a row where a Notre Dame defender has just run free at Georgia's brand new, literally never made a punt until this game guy, and technically he still hasn't punted.
Also, just incredibly bizarre. Have you ever seen that play happen twice? Now they called roughing the punter. Right?
They called running into again, and this time Georgia will just take. They declined the penalty, so they're not going to have him punt again. But my goodness, Georgia better fix that part, and Notre Dame better fix that part too. But that one was the 5-yard variety, I think. There, but the first one I would have called a 15. And the Notre Dame got lucky, and Georgia's lucky that their punter is not hurt. 803-404-6100. Let's get on the who we got here.
Let's do Jacob. Yeah.
Jacob is up. Hey, Jacob, good afternoon.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing well, sir. Hope you are. Happy New Year.
So Happy New Year to you. Jay, let me start with my dad's in the car, so don't mention that you're old because he'll come find you at Columbia Craft again and tell you that you're not old.
Oh, okay. All right.
Don't
Yes.
mention that you're old, Jay.
I am an incredibly spry 54. How's that?
All right, so I wanted to talk about you seem very strongly about obviously the targeting on Texas. I was asking Elijah, what about the interception where they were going to call targeting on ASU, where the guy clearly jumps in the air, launches his forearm to the head or neck area of the Texas player on the interception, but they waved that one off. So
yeah, I don't know why, because that's a launch. I suppose they're saying where that contact was made.
And even then, it might not be a targeting specifically, but still could be a personal foul.
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to get something there. I don't know that it's the exact same nature, but it was interesting. They reviewed it for targeting. They reviewed them both, and you know, that's why I said I speculate it's in terms of the timing of the non-call late. You know, did they cop out and just go, oh, we don't want to call that late? That'd be bad. But again, an officiating decision did have an effect on the outcome of the game. At least you can presume so. So, and this, look, I even saw, believe it or not, Jacob, and y'all all take a deep breath when I say this. Connor Wild Stallions apparently put out a tweet that talked about how football, I guess he meant college football primarily, may actually benefit from degrees of targeting.
Like a flagrant foul.
Much the way that basketball or hockey have degrees of certain fouls. So, and there was one other, and now I'm just blanking, there was one other controversial officiating call in that Texas game. Which one was it, Elijah? Now I'm just
The offensive pass interference.
yeah. I'm like
should have been offensive on Scatabo, but it was defensive, and then the face mask that happened right after.
so that was not that crew's best night, but again, I thought for certain that one at midfield late. That was head to head.
It's more egregious. They were reviewing it. Too.
Yeah,
like
and a defenseless player
is the worst part.
Yeah, and I didn't like that. But it was a hell of a game, and good for ASU to come back the way they did. Hell of a game.
Hell of a fourth quarter and overtime for sure.
Yep, no doubt.
All right, thanks.
All right, buddy, appreciate it. Tell your dad thanks for keeping me young. I appreciate that. Yeah, we had I can't remember his dad's name, but we met at one of our remotes at Columbia Craft, and he politely.
Yes.
And with a smile on his face, scolded me for saying that I was old.
Now, we can just, instead of just calling you old, because you're not old in the grand scheme of things, but you are my mother's age, so you're old enough to be my parent.
All right, you know what? I'm out. No, here's the thing. What are you, 28?
29.
29.
Turned 30.
I mean, my oldest will be 26 this year, so I get it.
Yeah. Well. Your oldest and I could have gone to high school together.
Yeah, could have.
Yeah.
Yeah, been 3 years apart. Yeah, but you didn't.
We didn't.
No. So there's
ifs and the ands are pots and pans. The world would be a kitchen.
She is currently in Japan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. She's been sending back some amazing pictures. But she and a group of friends kind of all splurged. Now that they're
it's a good place to go splurge.
Yeah, and I think they got a nice opportunity, group rate, if you will, winter travel, because it's cold in Japan.
Yeah.
I reminded her they've hosted 2 Winter Olympics. So, but no, it's pretty cool. I'd like to go to Japan one day. I want to go to the Far East.
Yeah, that's a bucket list.
I've done the Europe.
I want to go
thing.
to Asia. I've never been to Asia.
Yeah,
been to Europe.
Friend of mine's dad. Funny thing, he's passed on now. But one of my favorite parents of a friend, the late great Dr. Frank Harrison. He's the one who also said never go to the Super Bowl. He said he went to the Super Bowl one time. He said it was the worst sporting experience of his life, basically.
I've heard that too.
He said it was boring. He said it was so boring.
It's such a made-for-TV event. A lot of downtime.
It was a lot. I think he went in the 80s at some point, and it was one in New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken. But he
absolutely want to go to
he and Mrs. Harrison, not long after his retirement from the medical profession, took a trip to China and did like a long stretch of the Great Wall, and said it was absolutely spectacular. And I would very much like to go do stuff like that.
Great Wall would be
So
awesome.
when I do, Jacob's dad, when I do get old and have the chance to travel like that, then I'll do it. And I'll send you a postcard.
Send me as many as you can. Yeah. I would love that.
All right, keep you updated on what's going on. No score right now, just inside of 10 minutes. And we'll come back and revisit a little bit more from the Citrus Bowl. And again, the good bit of Gamecock football news that came out in this 4 o'clock hour. You are listening to the first postgame show of 2025. Listen, I've been talking a lot about resolutions here in the early part of the new year, and one of them might be to start feeling a little bit better. If you're bothered a lot by back, neck, shoulder, joint pain, get back to feeling better with our friends at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. Their goal is very simple. They want to improve your overall health with affordable, convenient chiropractic care and help you maintain and prevent reoccurring problems. They're locally owned by Janet and Bob Keene. Great folks. They want you in and out quickly, so you never have to worry about appointments. You never have to worry about insurance. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, and Saturdays, 10 until 4. And if you've never been, you're curious about what's going on at the Joint Chiropractic Center, for just $29, you'll get a consultation, an exam, and a chiropractic adjustment. And again, no appointment ever necessary. Harbison, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch in the Northeast, Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. You don't have to feel bad to feel better at the Joint.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start with a pretty big traffic backup caused by an overturned truck. That's over on Bluff Road at I-77. We have some more minor traffic backups causing more minor delays, starting with one on Decker Boulevard at Brookfield Road, Fish Hatchery Road at US 21 and Charleston Highway, Killian Road at Highway 555 at Farrow Road, Powell Road between Pisgah Church Road and Hard Scrabble Road, one on US 176 and Broad River Road at I-20, and lastly, one on Windsor Lake Boulevard near Alpine Road.
Talking a lot of football on this Thursday. Welcome back in. Happy New Year. Sugar Bowl is underway after obviously a delay from the terrible tragedy in New Orleans on New Year's, I guess early New Year's morning officially. And, of course, this game's supposed to be played last night around 8:30 or so. Moved until this afternoon. Right halfway through the first quarter, no score. Georgia driving, just got on the other side of the 50. It is second and very short for the Bulldogs around the 40-yard line. Keep you updated on that one. Both teams have punted to the other on fourth and very longs to start the game. And Georgia
punting twice.
Technically twice. So the kid finally got his first punt in, but they have a brand new punter. Their original punter for this season injured. So now they got a new quarterback, a new punter. What else could go wrong for Georgia? We'll see.
On their third holder, because the two holders on field goals were Carson Beck and the punter, Thorson.
But right now they're moving the ball. We'll keep you updated. Georgia a slight favorite in this one, right?
1.5 point.
But Notre Dame actually has the computer advantage. Which one do you look at more? Well, you have the EFPI and the EBPI, so you just look at your own. But
that's right. I look into the depths of my own soul.
Yeah, scary.
And sometimes I don't like what I see, buddy.
Nope. You could resolve to do something about that.
That's right. That's what therapy's for.
South Carolina did get good news just about, let's call it a half hour ago-ish.
Great news.
4-star wide receiver Donovan Murph from Irmo, South Carolina, has committed to the Gamecocks. And as our buddy Wes Mitchell points out, a real big haul of receivers for South Carolina in this recruiting class.
Easily the best position group that they were able to load up on in this class.
Yeah, they got some good ones. So, and I know that Donovan Murph has already spoken with some of the national folks, saying, "I'm going to a staff with a Heisman candidate at quarterback. They had a bunch of wins over ranked teams. They probably should have been in the playoff. Being able to join a playoff caliber team and add my talent to it is a blessing that they think I can add to their program." So there you go, Donovan Murph staying home and playing for the Gamecocks. So we'll keep you updated on what else is going on. He's playing in the Under Armour game, which is taking place simultaneously with the Sugar Bowl. So a lot happening. And the Gator Bowl tonight, scheduled for 7 p.m., has been moved to 8 p.m. so they can try to get this Sugar Bowl game underway. That'll be Duke and Mississippi, both going for their 10th wins. And then tomorrow we got the Mayo Bowl, right? And then
correct.
I think we're pretty much done at that point with major college teams in bowl games anyways.
Yeah, the only game on Saturday, I believe, is the Bahamas Bowl.
It's nice to go to the Bahamas in January, I'll say that much.
I'm sure Pete Limbo's loving it there in the Bahamas right now. I'm sure he's...
I don't know. I think Buffalo weather this time of year is balmy.
Tropical. Yes.
It's nice. You know, they're on the water.
What's the difference between Buffalo and the Bahamas?
Water.
They both start with a B.
They're on the water.
They both have weather.
Big boats. Right? Shipping industry.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, you've talked me into them practically being
I guess the only difference is you can't see Canada from the shores of
and that has to be
Bahamas.
the only difference. The only difference. The only one.
Actually, I don't know if you can see Canada from Buffalo or not. I don't think you can see it. Can you? I don't think you can see it.
I know on a certain day in April, you can probably smell it.
Maybe. It smells like maple.
Yes.
Syrup, that is.
Yes.
As they say up there. I say syrup because I'm from the South, but They say syrup.
I think I've always kind of said syrup.
Do you?
Yeah.
You're from the sort of South, right? The Mid-South, as y'all like to call it.
The Mid-South?
Isn't that what they call it over in Memphis?
I don't know. Memphis kind of operates
I remember when
independently.
Memphis the Mid-South Coliseum. I remember that. Like Mid-South Wrestling back in the day. Harley Race and those guys. So I think at least Memphis, the Mid-South. I don't know.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's fine. Anyway. All right, Georgia, Notre Dame, keep you updated on that. We will have a lot more. We've talked a lot. For those of you just tuning in, maybe you'd have had to get to work today for the first day of the new year. We did talk a lot in the 3 o'clock hour about the Citrus Bowl. Really, Elijah and I kind of came to the conclusion that there were 3 things to discuss, and I think Terry and Tyler kind of had the same things. 3 things to discuss, and in order, they were the coaching beef, the Nick Emenwari decision, and then, oh, that's right, there was a football game. And that's basically how we treated it, and we will continue to do so throughout the course of the afternoon.
A lot to unpack. A lot, and there's even a lot about the game we haven't gotten to talk about as well. I mean, I feel like the focus a lot when we talked about this game was the offense. Defensively, that was a little disappointing. I think Illinois kind of ran up and down the field whenever they wanted to. I think that was my biggest disappointment of the game was I would like to see a better tackling effort from a defense that was so good all season long. And at the end of the day, they could not get off the field on third down, mostly because they could not stop Illinois on the ground.
8 of 12 were the Illini on third down.
And, just to get, I think I already told you. So, the stat of how much Illinois gained on the ground on third down.
Well, tell everybody again, because when I guessed, I tried to go a decent percentage above their per carry average for the day, which was 5.2. So I said a little over 7, and then you decided to punch me in the gut.
Yeah, Illinois picked up 13 yards per carry on third down. 13.
That's brutal.
Not going to win a lot of games.
That's brutal.
Not going to win any game.
No, you're not. Any game.
And really, that just to me felt like the biggest football factor in this game that kept them from winning the game was their inability to get off the field on third down when Illinois wasn't doing a lot of fancy stuff on third down. They were running. They ran the ball down their throat, and that's something I didn't expect to see during that from an Illinois offense that at times ran the ball well this year, but against the best defenses they played, they did not. Against Penn State, they couldn't get much going on offense at all. But in this game, I mean, look, the McCray kid ran for 114 yards. 60 of that came on one play, but the Lafferty kid picked up 4 per carry. I mean, that was an Illinois rushing attack where they loaded up the line of scrimmage or the offensive line to where sometimes there are 8 or 9 guys on the line, and South Carolina just couldn't adjust. I felt like that was the biggest thing was they were not just able to make that proper adjustment. TJ Sanders, that was what I asked him after the game was, how difficult was it for Illinois to stack the line like that? And, how did that ultimately become a big part of the game? And he said they had a hard time filling gaps at that point. And if you go back and look at that last 60-yard run that basically put the game on ice, Demetrius Knight's basically guessing which gap to go to. He runs to the right side of the line, and McCray's filling the, run through the hole that's over on the left side of the line, and he just goes straight through it. At that point, the only person who could stop McCray was Judge Collier, and the only way he could get him was by chasing him 60 yards down the field. And at that point, again, game was over. That was the deciding play in this game.
Give me on this note, give me cut 16 on today's list, please, sir. Shane Beamer from his post-game presser on the difficulty Carolina had in the run game on defense.
Yeah, they did a good job. I mean, I went for that 4th down right there. There's thoughts of kicking at the end of the game. I mean, there's thoughts of kicking the field goal, and thought we had a good play call, and we weren't able to, convert on it, but went for it because I said, you know what, if we don't get it, they're going to be on the whatever it was, I think the 7-yard line or something. And we felt good about our defense being able to go out there and get a stop, and they did a nice job. They popped that run in there, and they were mixing up personnel groupings on us, and I'll have to look at the tape just to see. We didn't, I think then we weren't great probably tackling today, but just got to, the whole key, everyone just doing their jobs, and players, coaches, we just weren't quite good enough today.
Again, Illinois running for 5.2 per carry throughout the ball game, and 8 of 12 on third down. And that play call there, look, the play call, I mentioned it before, and we'll talk about it again next hour. But I'm not saying these three plays alone were the difference in terms of the definitely winning or losing. But the fake field goal, the play was there. You got to execute. The third down after you took the lead, 3rd and 8, you had some pressure on Altmaier, and you had pretty good coverage on the pass. You didn't make the play. They go on and score. And then again, the play to Josh Simon was there. You got to hit it. You got to find a way to hit it. Update from the Sugar Bowl. Georgia was driving inside the 15-yard line, 2nd and short, but a big hit on Etienne, fumbles inside the 10. Notre Dame takes over. So Georgia still without points, and Etienne got walloped on that play, and the ball spilled out about 5 yards towards the end zone. So Georgia was driving very well and fumbled the football. Now 2nd down and long for Notre Dame.
You can't do that.
No.
In a game where scoring opportunities might be at a premium for both teams.
And remember,
Big turnover.
Georgia has not played since the SEC championship game, so they've been off for nearly a month. Notre Dame did play Indiana in the CFP last week in South Bend.
That's a fascinating element of this I don't think we've talked about enough, is that how much of that long layoff, which you normally get, which both teams normally get for a college football playoff game, how much does that hurt? Now, clearly, you're going to take the option if you have the choice to take a bye or not take a bye. You take the bye because winning, the chance of losing a bye week is 0%, and the chance of losing a game in which you're not on a bye is non-zero. So the math favors you to take a bye week if you have that option. But how much? I guess it does.
I've told you, man. I told you. I'd like to play at home if I had that opportunity. And they're not going to give me one or the other. But this format's going to change. I don't think we see anything close to this format next year. I really don't. 803-404-6100. We'll get more from Elijah's post-game experiences, headlines of the day, and what's going on around college football and the Gamecocks. You're listening to the post-game show. 11 minutes in front of 5 o'clock on this Thursday. It is a Thursday. The time is right.
The time is always right. It's a party.
Well, I think twice today I've said during Saturday's game, and it was on a Tuesday.
Calendars.
When do we get back to just normal?
Next Monday.
Okay.
Or Monday.
Are you sure? Well, we'll find out, won't we? Stay tuned.
Yes, we should.
Who do we have next? We have John. Is that right?
Yes, John
called. Up next on the phone lines. Hey, John. Happy New Year.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. I guess I just wanted to propose. It's more of a hypothetical, but kind of wanted to get y'all's take on it. I mean, when you think about every other college sport, college basketball, baseball, soccer, all of those sports, you know, during the beginning of the season, there's so much, I guess, you know, Power 5 versus Power 5 matchups. And, you know, I think because of that, that largely you're able to answer, you know, which conference is the best or which two conferences are the best because there's so much, you know, out-of-conference play with those Power 5s matching up against each other, like SEC, ACC Challenge, things like that. Mm-hmm. Is there a way you think college – I mean, I feel like if college football modeled some of that, it would take all this, you know, all these issues that come up at the end of the season somewhat out of play. I mean, because, you know, when you think of some Power 5 schools, they just go cupcake,
right,
and then right into conference play. And, I mean, you know, some of that's not really the committee's fault. They're just dealing with the hand they've been dealt. And, you know, kind of wanted to get y'all's take on kind of that hypothetical.
Yeah, no, I listen, John. Thanks for the phone call. I have been a proponent now for several years. First, let me back up here, and then I'll get because I agree with what you just said, and I'll tell you why. Let me make it abundantly clear for the 2000th time in my career. I have no idea how many. I don't like FCS games against Power 5 schools or Power 4 or whatever.
Yeah, RIP the Power 5.
I don't like them. I like those schools. I like those people. I got tons of friends that went there. Make it a spring game. They don't belong in the regular season schedule. The reason they're there is because, again, you're pretty much guaranteed to win. I did the math before. I don't have it in front of me anymore. But against Power 5 schools since like 1980, FCS teams win like 3% of the time. And most of those, by the way, actually, that's just like it's minuscule, man. And, you know, the App State at Michigan thing, Citadel at South Carolina thing, it's just rare to the point that it doesn't need to happen. But it's a money grab, a guaranteed win, whatever. Replace those with real games, better games. Not real games, better games. I would love, John, an SEC Big Ten football challenge, a Big 12 AC, whatever. I don't care. Do it.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Not only that, and I'll be careful here. Like we know South Carolina has a built-in difficult game every year out of conference. In a lot of years, South Carolina will play a second ACC school. This year coming up will be one of those years. They're going to play Virginia Tech. It'll be a neutral game. I'd much rather have like Chapel Hill and State come to Columbia and then go to Chapel Hill or Raleigh.
Like true home and home.
I'd love that. Go to Virginia Tech, everyone. Like Carolina used to play Virginia Tech a bunch. I'd like to get Florida State back on the schedule, Georgia Tech back on the schedule. I'm here for that. Even when you play East Carolina, I'm here for that. That's a better game than if you play the Citadel or Wofford.
Yeah,
again,
certainly.
Not trying to be disrespectful, just trying to give y'all what I see. The reason that a lot of coaches don't want to do it is because they don't want to lose. I get it. Well, that's why we have an expanded playoff, and I think that goes to John's point. There's a way to build that in seeding-wise when it comes to the larger format tournaments.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to do that for football. You're not going to have 64 for a football tournament.
Nope.
But
not doable.
You know, you get a couple of 3-loss teams in, and it'll be okay. It'll be okay if you've lost to some good teams. And even when you have, like, the SEC mandates a Power 5 game or a Power Conference game. All right, well, Missouri played Boston College. And that was a better game this year than we might have expected. But, okay, they didn't go out and try to schedule the Southern Cal. Mm-hmm. You know, Wake Forest and Mississippi. Yeah, better game for Wake Forest, but Mississippi beat the crap out of them.
And here's the thing, too. We don't also know, like, if you're setting a challenge, too. Like, The Athletic this summer did a hypothetical SEC Big Ten challenge. And at the end, of course, the Big Ten has 2 more teams than the SEC does. So at the very end of the article, they said, or the beginning of the article, they said, we'll exclude Indiana and Purdue because those are the 2 teams projected to finish last in the Big Ten. So if you exclude those 2 teams, we'll still have the same issue this year, like with Indiana per se, because we just thought Indiana wasn't going to be very good.
Well,
they turned
because
out
history
to
tells us they aren't.
Yeah, and then they ultimately flipped the script on that and had the season that they did. They were not one of the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten.
No.
So that's the one thing there, too, that can be difficult when trying to set those things up. We're doing it on how we perceive these teams to be at the beginning of the season when a whole lot changes from July to November.
But I promise you, I'm here. If we did nothing but power conference versus power conference, non-con and in-con, if you will, I am totally, totally here for it. But I know why some people aren't. Hour 3 is coming up.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways. We have an overturned truck causing a pretty serious traffic backup over on Bluff Road near Highway 48 at I-77, so avoid that if possible. We also have another one on 20 eastbound between exit 11 and exit 18. That's some serious stop-and-go traffic reported over there, so traffic moving very slowly if you're on that part of the state. We have some more minor traffic backup backups here in town as a result of some accidents. One's on Fish Hatchery Road near Charleston Highway. That one's still causing some issues, as well as one recently reported on Killian Road at Highway 555 and Farrow Road.
You know, I hadn't got to hear that sounder in like 2 weeks that I've been away.
I'm sure you almost forgot.
Well, I was here like Monday. I was here Monday. You were in Orlando on Monday, so we did a show together, but we were 500 miles apart. But we didn't actually, because it was more of a bowl prep day, so we didn't have the same format.
The bowl prep, yeah.
Yes, we took out the news sounder. So I'm touching my earpiece like this, which means there's breaking news. There is. It was about an hour ago. We had 2 pieces of breaking news.
We did?
Yeah, and I'll put them into this particular newscast. But I will start with the Gamecock Bowl game. South Carolina falling on Tuesday. We weren't here yesterday. It's falling on Tuesday to the Fighting Illini of Illinois, 21-17, the final score. South Carolina finishes the regular season and the bowl season, if you will, at 9-4, so denied that 10th win. And Shane Beamer discussed not getting to the double-digit mark in postgame.
A hurt locker room in there, as you can imagine. A lot of guys that have poured their heart and soul into Gamecock football and wanted so much for them to.
All right, we'll start questions in the room.
Get that 10th win. We weren't able to get it done, but like I just told them in there, just don't lose sight of the journey that we've been on and what these guys have done since January when they came back. And we got a hurt for our seniors that we didn't send them out better, but just told them in there, don't forget this feeling. Play Virginia Tech in 243 days, and we got a lot of work to do between now and then.
As a for the neutral, a good game, and we will discuss further. We have gone to discussing this game in great detail, both the extracurricular and the actual football throughout the course of the program.
No shortage of drama.
It was, I mean, for a game, for a bowl season now that has lost a lot of what bowl season used to feel like and mean. This game. Look, there's a feeling that this game, the Citrus Bowl, is the best non-playoff bowl game.
The most highly coveted between the SEC and Big Ten teams that don't get into the playoff.
I absolutely believe that these two coaches, whatever path they may have taken, turned it into that. Because this was a really good football game, first and foremost. And then the extra stuff, which I don't like from either side, and we will discuss further, added to the drama for those who were neutrals watching this game. But this game came down to late in the fourth quarter. And that's good because not all games do.
That's good for the sport, though.
It is.
Side note, I think that the intensity of this game and the amount of attention it got,
right,
even if it was, probably not what you want in a football game, taking away from, the football part of a football game is never a plus. But I think that was really good for the sport. For a bowl game to have 2 ranked teams, even though they're not in the playoff, to mean that much to both of them, to have as many players opt in, and it still get that emotional, that heated, that intense, that's great for the sport.
I agree.
Like, that's good for the long term.
I mean, South Carolina had 2 opt-outs and Illinois had 1.
2.5 opt-outs.
And then I was going to say, and then South Carolina, that's another part of the
drama. That
drama is the right way to put it, that we will discuss in just a minute. But it was also the first game of the Mike Shula era as offensive coordinator and play caller for Lenora Sellers and the Gamecocks. Shane Beamer on how he assessed that performance.
Thought it was smooth. I mean, we'll certainly, it's not the easiest situation for him to be in where you're calling plays for the first time this season. But, not to say that he was poor by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, we moved the ball. We just didn't convert in some critical situations and whatnot, but did some good stuff, tried to mix it up, but certainly we'll all, be better. We all had to step up our games today. I mean, we weren't just missing our, former coordinator, but there's a graduate assistant and an analyst that weren't here today too, that everyone had to kind of adjust their roles and certainly could have been cleaner and a little bit better, but and we will be going forward.
South Carolina had 20 first downs, 9 of 16 on third down, 390 total yards. Lenoris completed 24 of his 34 passes because one of those passes was the Kai Kroger kick. South Carolina ran the ball okay. They got 3.9 per carry. That'll get you first downs. But compared to Illinois' 5.2, it was not good enough. Carolina had 130 yards on the ground to the Illini's 183. I thought Mike Shula called a good game. We've heard from a couple of you who do not believe that. I get it. Again, I think it's often very easy to make an OC a bit of a scapegoat. I think Lenoris missed a lot of wide open opportunities. And again, what you can argue is the most crucial play of the game. Thought the OC dialed up a good play. And the tight end was open, and you didn't hit him.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If you look at just the entire offense for the entire football game, your average drive went 8 plays and 42 yards and started on your own 33. So your average drive took you into the opposing team's 25. Would you accept that in a game like this against a defense like Illinois?
Yeah.
Against a front seven at least?
Yeah.
I think you'd accept that. I think that's deemed acceptable. You did miss some plays. I think the players missed some of the plays. I didn't necessarily have an issue with Mike Shula's play calling. I never really at any point in the game thought, oh, that's a bad play call. Or what are you doing running the ball here? What are you doing throwing the ball here? There are a few instances where Lenoris is scrambling, and I think he thought he had some green grass where he probably could have ran and chose not to and threw the ball instead. Maybe there was some talk about trying to limit the hits you put or the toll on your body. You don't want to get seriously hurt in a game like this and have you miss out on spring ball or the first couple weeks. Yeah,
right?
You don't want to miss that. That's the nightmare scenario.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I understand maybe not wanting to run Lenoris a lot, or because there were some good design runs. I liked some of the design runs for him on 3rd and short, which you converted. I mean, if I'm grading it, I think it's probably a B.
That's fair.
I think that's fair. I think it was a little better than average. But again, 8 plays, 42 yards is your average drive. I mean, I think your shortcomings were the fake field goal, which is not his. That was not his play call.
Right.
Whatever, I guess, having Kai take the direct snap. The play was there, not executed very well.
Play was there.
You fumbled the ball in your own territory and lost it once.
Right.
And then you missed a field goal where you got the ball into Illinois territory with a chance to kick a field goal before half, just missed the field goal. And then late
was
in
the
game,
reverb in the stadium as loud as it was on television?
Absolutely. I could hear that in the press box.
I mean,
that was
so it's like somebody hit a gong at the same time.
Yeah, it's exactly what you heard on TV is exactly how it sounded in the stadium.
Yeah.
You could hear it even through the glass in the press box. So, I mean, ultimately, if you just look at the numbers, you watch the team on offense, you didn't have the explosive Lenora Sellers run through any point in the game. His longest run was 8 yards. So you didn't have those eye-popping highlight plays that we saw in the Texas A&M game, the Missouri game, the Vanderbilt game, the Clemson game, sure. But you still got a healthy offense ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, you put up some good numbers. Yeah, you just wasn't enough to win the game. I get that.
Yeah. You got to put points on the board.
But you had a play to win the game, or at least to put you ahead with, just over a minute to go. You missed the play.
Yeah. Your shortcomings that came into the red zone weren't necessarily by fault of play calling.
Right. That's how I look at it, too. But We'll see. We'll have more on the game and some more long-form answers from Shane. One more from Shane here, though, and we'll get into some of this, too. This was his post-game on what happened from Shane's perspective when Brett Bielema began to come over and taunt the South Carolina sideline.
It's heated and competitive out there, David, but in all my years of being around football, I've never seen an opposing head coach come over to the opposing team's sideline and basically make a gesture towards the opposing head coach. And I think he was upset about something that we did on the kickoff return in regards to Juju on the throwback to Nick Harbor. But I would say he needs to check the rule book because that's something that we cleared with the officials before the game. So disappointing. He got a lot of respect for him. He's obviously done this for a long time, but in all my years of coaching, I've never seen that happen, David. An opposed coach come over while his player's hurt and basically have something to say to the opposing head coach. But I got my own team to worry about. We weren't good enough today.
Our good friend Chris Clark, by the way, on his Twitter feed, did put out something that Brett Bielema had done in his first go as a Big Ten head coach at Wisconsin against Penn State that kind of bumped up against the rule book. I think it was several offsides on purpose on kickoffs that, of course, forced time to run. They don't put the time back on, and basically accused of lining up offsides on purpose each time, knowing that it would ultimately run more time off the clock. So
I think he's saying that and also kind of poking at, because Brett Bielema alluded to player safety in the presser, which I will say this. Love Chris. I think a lot of our attitudes towards player safety has changed since 2006.
Yeah.
We used to have a segment on ESPN every Monday night before Monday Night Football called Jacked Up.
Right.
Where we were watching plays and, being like, oh, this guy got jacked up.
Well, remember the NFL Blitz game?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Which, like if you didn't really take a guy's head off, you did it wrong.
You did it wrong, yeah. Then I think you got points for taking people's heads off.
So, I get it. Look, again, we've talked about it already. We'll talk about it again in just a minute. Both head coaches could have handled themselves a lot better.
Significantly.
I do think Shane was reacting to something that Bielema did, and Bielema says he was reacting to something that had happened. I think there was a lot of, again, rule-bending gray area, not rule-breaking. All right, I'm choosing my words carefully.
It was
gamesmanship
to kind of bend the rules.
Which, you know what? I also appreciate a little gamesmanship in a game like this, which is why I say, if you're a neutral, this was a good football game.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Right?
Certain.
The hard part is you're not for folks around here primarily. And Illinois folk are going to stand up for their guy. You should. Carolina folk are going to stand up for their guy. You should.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like what I thought was open taunting. That's my biggest.
Brett could have handled that significantly
I think
better.
You can do a lot better than that. But I think he loved what he was doing. And
I think he loved it because he got a rise out of Shane.
It worked. Yeah.
And that's why he had that bleep-eating grin on the sideline.
It worked.
Does he know exactly that?
Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
He knew what he did.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing. Yeah, it wasn't like a heat-of-the-moment thing. And I'm with Shane, too, that I thought during an injury timeout, maybe that was the wrong time. I told you, do it during, like, the end of quarter timeout, which is an extended timeout, and just take a walk out on the field and do a little jawing. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Jawing happens. I'm okay with the jawing back and forth. I got zero. You and I talked about it earlier. In basketball, coaches will go at each other. They're right there on the same sideline.
They can talk to each other. They can carry like
manager to manager in baseball, be it college, pro, whatever. Dugout to dugout. Pitcher to hitter, and so on and so forth. Third base coach. I've seen third base coaches get run. In football, it's different because you're 50-something yards apart from each other most of the time.
With some large men standing in between you.
Yeah, so anyway, there's that for you. We'll have more on this game coming up for you, both the on-field and, I guess, technically off-field stuff. A couple of things real quick here before we get out of here in our integrated media headlines of the day. First off, good news for South Carolina football fans. 4-star wide receiver from Irmo High School, Donovan Murph, announced today, about 4 o'clock today, that he will be attending the University of South Carolina. It adds to a fantastic wide receiver class for Shane Beamer and his staff. Malik Clark, Lex Cyrus, Jordan Gidron, Brian Rowe, Jaden Sellers. That's Lenore's brothers, all 3 or 4-star recruits, all coming in, and now another 4-star and a local product at that coming in. Donovan Murph chose South Carolina over Clemson, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Colorado. So, and he is playing as we speak in the Under Armour All-American game.
Big get.
Also today, around the same time, actually, Alabama's Jalen Milroe declared for the draft. 2 years as the starter last season, 2023, finished in the top 10 of the Heisman voting. Did not do so this year, but of course helped Alabama win the SEC title in 2023 and get to the playoffs. So he is on his way out and at the Sugar Bowl as we speak. Just under 7 minutes to go, first half. Georgia with the ball at midfield. It is 3-3. Again, this game postponed because of the awful tragedy in New Orleans on what was early New Year's morning. So this game being played today instead of last night. And then tonight, the Gator Bowl, Mississippi and Duke, both with 9 wins. That game will kick an hour later than originally scheduled. It'll be an 8 o'clock kick in Jacksonville. We'll come back on the other side with more sound from the Gamecocks after the bowl game. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Start 2025 off feeling right, both mentally and physically. And you can get the physical part taken care of, and that may make your mental health a little bit better, too, at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. Listen, holiday stresses, for a lot of families. You just, had folks in and out of the house, or you're putting the holiday decorations away, or you're just saying, I'm tired of feeling, off. Get into the Joint. Never been to a chiropractic center before? For just $29, you can get an initial consultation, exam, and adjustment, and you never need an appointment at the Joint. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, Saturdays, 10 until 4. They're FSA and HSA approved. You can get them in Harbison Boulevard, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch off Killian in the Northeast, Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. Convenient, affordable, maintain a healthy body, prevent reoccurring issues. Tell them we sent you. See our good friends at the Joint. And remember, you don't have to feel bad to feel better.
bittersweet, honestly, bittersweet. Folks been asking me, pretty much all week or last week, last game from earlier, last college game. It really did hit me, but after the game, when we went in there, it got a little emotional, so I had to get up out of that kind of thing. But nah, it was bittersweet, man. I'm thankful for Coach Beamer for allowing me to come play for the University of South Carolina, just to be able to come home and have the career that I had and did the things I did to help this team get to where it's at, man. I'm more than grateful.
That was Josh Simon at the post-game festivities. South Carolina falling to Illinois 21-17. So his career is done. What a bright spot. Certainly this season, but really the last couple. I think he had really emerged, and I think he showed a lot to the next level teams. I don't know what those opportunities are.
There's a place for him somewhere.
I think there is.
I've seen lesser tight ends get a chance.
Yeah, and whether it's an undrafted chance, I think he'll be in somebody's camp. But I could see him going day 3.
Yeah, got good hands on him. He's a solid route runner.
Yeah.
I mean, he proved this year to be really good at finding the soft spot of his zone, playing really well in the scramble drill. You saw whenever the pocket broke down and Lenoris had to scramble, and defenses got all discombobulated. That Josh Simon was really good at finding an open spot, and Lenoris was great at finding him. And when you look at this passing game this year, the success of the passing game in terms of finding yourself, because after the Ole Miss game, what were we talking about? This offense is broken. You need to find yourself an easy button. Find yourself somebody who can get you a play for 5 or 6 yards, right? And Josh Simon became that kind of like that rock, that pillar of your passing game, and that really grew towards us as the season went on. Perfect in the red zone. Guy was an awesome red zone target. You needed 6, and you're deep in opponent territory. Josh Simon was your guy.
Right.
And you saw them use him a lot, especially in the RPO game. He was awesome for that offense.
Well, again, he was your guy. He was your guy Tuesday afternoon.
He was, yeah. That was your best option in the passing game.
And he was open in the end zone to take you ahead with not long left to play.
He was open in the end zone, that touchdown before it.
Yeah, that was a nice touchdown.
That's a perfect read from Lenoris, seeing that edge defender crash, pulling that ball out of Attaway's belly at the last possible second. Right. Attaway puts that block on the defender long enough for Lenoris to be able to wind up and make the throw. It ended up being a really good play, and that got you a lead that you thought maybe you could hold. Illinois got in the end zone again, and ultimately you couldn't get back in because of that throw that you were alluding to earlier. Yeah. But, I mean, Josh Simon was huge for you this year. That's going to be a really big loss. That's not going to be an easy person to
I agree. And does a receiver become that so-called easy button? I think Michael Smith is going to have a nice opportunity to become the number 1 next season.
I like him a lot.
See what else you can do. Brady Hunt have another year? I sometimes get confused on whether they do or don't.
He does.
I think he does, too.
Yeah.
If we're wrong, somebody will let us know.
50% sure.
Right, that sounds good. I'll go 49% sure. That way,
wow.
That
You're
way,
less confident than I am.
If we're both wrong, you will have been more confident, which makes you look worse.
Yeah, I will have been more wrong than you are.
Right. So that's what I'm going
by a percent.
Yeah.
But if I'm right, then I'm more right than you are. How about that?
I'm 49.9% sure.
Well, that means, if he does have eligibility, then I'll be more right than you are, and I'll take that risk. I'll take that risk.
All right.
I'm going for it on 4th down. I'm going to take that risk.
Let's look. I don't want to dwell too much on this, but it's become such a part of the story. So I'm going to have one from Coach Beamer, one from Coach Bielema here.
It's the People's Court.
Yeah, I know, right? But I suppose the best one to play from Shane. You were there. Look, and I know I'm just giving numbers here, people. So this is live radio. 18 or 19.
Let's do
18. Probably makes more sense.
Let's do 18. 18's more pertinent to the
to the exchange
incident.
So, yes. Yeah. So here's here's Shane Beamer on the kickoff play that ultimately we now know had Brett Bielema upset.
No, I don't believe so. I think his issue was when we threw the throwback kickoff return. Our kickoff returner did this, which most teams, that's a signal that it's a touchback and we're not going to return the kick. You're allowed to do that as long as you don't do a waving motion. It's no different than on a punt. If the punt returner comes pointing to the ball that's bouncing on the ground, he's allowed to return it. If you're doing this, you're not allowed to return it. There was no waving of the arms, and I cleared it with the Big 12 officials before the game. I told them we were going to do it, making sure they were good with it. And they said, yeah, just as long as he doesn't wave the arms. So I think he had an issue with that. You have to ask him why he didn't take it up with the officials and why he felt the need to come over here while his player was on the ground and look at me and say something to me and do that motion at me like I was full of you-know-what to do it. That's what I have an issue with. And when I'm a competitive guy, when somebody says that to me, I'm going to respond because I thought that was Bush League, just to be completely honest. And again, I got my own team to worry about. Give them credit. I got a ton of respect for Coach Bielema. I've really enjoyed being around him this week. We're two competitive guys, but I thought that was uncalled for.
So there's Shane's viewpoint. Bush League. He described it in postgame. Here's what Brett Bielema had to say in the same room just a little bit later on.
The only thing that I did was there's a unwritten philosophy in coaching that when you do this as a college kickoff return guy, what you're doing is you're telling everybody else that it's going to be a fair catch and it's going to be dead in the end zone when the ball lands. The reason we do that, and I first got aware of it, was in the NFL, was kickoff and kickoff return is the highest percentage of injury in the sport. So one of the things that coaches began to do was that everybody out of respect started T-barring. I think these guys would tell you everybody does that. I've never seen it any other way. It's not an official. There's nothing illegal. They didn't do anything illegal. But it put us, I think, in a position that we now, the ethic of what that is, got evaporated there, because our kids stop. So when you're a kickoff return unit, right, if I'm running at you and the kickoff return is back there, the guy blocking me, he doesn't know what's going on, so he's going to begin to engage you. And when you see somebody do that before the whistles are blown, you can stop, decelerate, and you don't have these massive collisions. Listen, I love Shane. He's a good person. I know somebody said that he thought I did it at him. I did it their whole damn sideline. I wasn't going personally at him. I did it their whole sideline. I just wanted them to understand that I know what just happened. There's nothing illegal. There's nothing wrong. I just have never seen it done in any level of football, college or pro. That's it.
That's all well and good from both sides. I think typically you see coaches discuss this either at the post-game handshake at midfield when the clock has hit 0, or they may do it in the tunnel after the ball game, or now everybody has everybody's phone number.
I think Shane might have emptied the clip on what he wanted to say during that. During the reaction to Bielema doing that. I understand fully why both men are upset. I will say whatever you want about me. I believe what Brett Bielema did was openly taunt the South Carolina sideline, and I think he can still go do it. I think he should have been flagged 15 yards for unsportsmanlike conduct. I know that some people aren't going to feel that way. I do. I just think that's taunting, and by definition, there's the thing. There's the non-gray area of the rules. I just think the refs were like, whatever. And again, you want to talk about timing, you're doing it during an injury timeout. Like I said, go do it, Brett. Do it during the end of quarter timeout. Don't do it while you're walking to check on a player and then do it. If he feels the way he feels, so be it. All right? And I don't like Shane's reaction either. Shane, had to be restrained multiple times. And again, those dudes were like bouncers. I don't know who they were, but they looked like bouncers. I know they worked for Carolina, but they were biggins. And he had a couple of biggins. And Shane's not a biggin. So for two biggins to have to work that hard lets you know. That's where I say. I didn't like any of that part of it. But again, I think the neutrals probably did. Yeah. I mean, I do understand Bielema's frustration. I personally wouldn't have gone over to the sideline and done that. I would have saved my displeasure for after the game and the handshake. Because I almost think that the kickoff thing is akin to the fake slide, the fake quarterback slide. Because you're saying that you're going to do one thing, and then you don't. It's not illegal. Nothing about it's illegal. The same way the fake slide's not illegal. So I get the gripe there, but to do that while your player's hurt and then make this about you, does have a selfish feel to it.
I didn't really like any of it. But there you go. More on the game. Drive around the SEC as well coming up. New Year's resolution, all right? You got a lot of them probably. Let me add one to your list if you haven't put it there already. Get your yard looking better and do it with Kato's Power Equipment. All kinds of great tools out there for the home landscaper like myself. I like doing yard work. I do. Nice way to kind of get out from time to time. You know, you got that little piece of earth that you call your own. Take care of it, but you don't want to do it like all the time, right? At Kato's now, so much brand new stuff in stock that lets you get these jobs done faster. Like my Toro Time Master, I'm cutting the grass in half the time that I used to. Love that thing. Getting ready to add to my Toro products in terms of battery-powered blowers, edgers, trimmers, all these things for you. Use the same battery, tons of life in there, and they don't break down as much. Great way to get it all done for you in 2025 and beyond. 4012 West Beltline Boulevard and always online at katospowerequipment.com.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways. Well, we'll start with an overturned truck that has been causing some serious traffic backup on Bluff Road near Highway 48 at I-77. That one's been causing some serious traffic backup for a while now. Some other traffic backups, more minor traffic backups around town as a result of accidents are at Fish Hatchery Road at US 21 near Charleston Highway, one on Forest Drive near Highway 12 and Percival Road, one on I-20 westbound at I-26 near exit 64, and lastly, one on Laurel Street at Henderson Street.
It is drive around the SEC time, and the SEC champion is playing as we speak in the Sugar Bowl, or at least a playoff game that is called the Sugar Bowl. Georgia is trailing Notre Dame. Former Gamecock Mitch Jeter, now the Irish kicker, just put one through to make it 6-3 with 39 seconds left in the first half. Again, this game postponed because of the awful incident and tragedy in New Orleans on New Year's morning, early New Year's morning. And Georgia will have an opportunity here to try to put some points on the board with 2 timeouts and 39 seconds left for Gunnar Stockton. And they
time.
Touchback, so they'll get the ball at the 25-yard line. John has been on hold while we have been discussing some things around the Gamecocks. Now he wants to weigh in after the game. I think he was there. How are you, sir? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, fellas. Yeah, Holly and I were there. It was overall, I guess, a good trip. Disappointing in the way the game went. Yeah, just, I think as far as the game goes, to me, the turning point in the ball game was, as Jay, you mentioned, it was the fumble, because that came right off of the Kilgore interception. And Carolina was driving at that point, and you could tell, based on the way Carolina was driving and kind of the way Illinois was on their heels, Carolina was smelling blood at that point. So to not be able to finish the drive off, I think I'm with you. Howell is going to be a very good, serviceable running back next year, maybe the number one. I don't know, but at that point, in the ball game, it definitely was, in my estimation, probably the play that made that game end up the way it ended up. As far as, the Eamon Worry thing, he's been such a reliable and dependable guy, and really kind of the heart and soul of that defense for the last 3 years. But I'm not going to call what he did opting out. What he did was he quit. I'm sorry, but there it is. If you opt out, that means you are sitting the game out. If you stop playing in the middle of the game, you quit. And I don't know how you can call yourself a competitor when you do that, when you just basically, as Shane said, abandon your teammates in the middle of a fierce game, and you take yourself out. And if you are that concerned about losing money or your draft stock, then do the simple thing that Deion Sanders did with his entire team. Take out an insurance policy. And obviously...
Or you just opt out of the entire game.
Precisely. What is the point of opting out at halftime? That, to me, that is the most idiotic and senseless thing to do in that situation. And as we've talked at length today about the Bielema thing, look, it simply is Bush League. And, yeah, there are plenty of unwritten rules out there. And Lane Kiffin has found a way to violate all of them. And then they have the guys that are faking injuries. And, yeah, I'll say they were faking, because you don't look to the sideline to get instructions from your coaching staff to go down if you really are hurt. You go down as, you get hit or not walking away to the huddle. And if Bielema wanted to do something and say something to Shane, he could have waited another, 3 seconds? That incident happened right at the end of the third quarter, right after that beautiful bomb that Lenoris threw to Dale Von Campbell.
62 yards in the air, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dale Vaughn was so wide open, he almost dropped the thing. Thank God he didn't.
He did. He caught it twice, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's somebody that I think Carolina is certainly going to miss next year. But really excited about the recruiting class, really excited about Donovan Murph coming. I guess that's an early happy birthday present for Holly. Tomorrow's her birthday. But as far as, this game goes, it's a lot more disappointing, I'd say, than the Gator Bowl was 2 years ago, because this was an opportunity to really etch yourself into program history with a 10th win, and we didn't get it. A 9-win season is going to be good. Going forward, obviously, long term, this really doesn't move the needle one way or another, especially since we didn't get the 10th win. But in the grand scheme, a fantastic season. when people were saying people were saying if we had won 5 games, we could call that a great season based on the schedule, and we ended up with 9 and reeled off 6 in a row after losing in Tuscaloosa. But, you think back to the Alabama game, this kind of was kind of a mirror of that game. Carolina got chewed up on the ground and had a chance to kind of put the game away after a huge turnover and then gave it right back to them. But, again, all in all, a fantastic season, a really fun season, and hopefully with this group coming in next year, it's going to be the first of many great seasons that we have around here.
Well, that's certainly the goal, John. Glad you had a good time. Otherwise, thanks for the phone call as always, and Happy New Year and happy birthday. Not to you, obviously. A couple of things. We mentioned, Elijah and I mentioned the Nick Emanwari situation in the first hour of the show. I don't like it, and I agree. It is quitting. You can't do that. To borrow from another story in this ball game, if Brett Bielema says he's never seen that, with the kickoff thing, kick return thing. I've never heard of anybody quitting during the middle of a game. Literally in the middle of a game. Just opt out. Just opt out. The insurance thing, I know Dion did that for Shador and Travis. They're going to be top 10 picks, and that's a whole different ball game. Nick is going to be a draft pick, likely day 2. But, I think Nick in his mind either doesn't understand the full Cam Ward situation, if that's what he's basing his decision upon, or even the Malik Neighbors situation from last year, if that's what he's basing it on. Those 2 kids and their entire team and program knew what they were going to do. Everybody knew. Everybody knew inside. Just because we don't know it publicly doesn't mean that they didn't. So, Malik last year, Cam this year, their teammates, their coaches, everybody involved with the program knew what was going to happen and that the one half of play was going to be it. That is not the case for Nick Emanwari. As I have gathered this morning, and I'm still trying to work on it because Nick is not talking, as you might imagine. He needs to talk because then the air can be more cleared. He needs to talk. I even said earlier, and I'll say it again, if he'd like to come on this program, I'll be happy to let him talk. I'm not going to grill him. It's a bad look right now. If you want to clear it up and make it look better, there's an opportunity. I know others in our business, that is sports media that cover the Gamecocks in Columbia and the state, have also reached out to Nick to share his version of events. But as I gathered this morning, maybe during halftime, he told an assistant coach who then had to relay the information to the head coach. And once the head coach found out, he was not happy. I don't think any boss, if you will, would be happy to know that someone quit and then still wanted to be a part of what was going on for the next little bit.
Yeah, and it seemed like his teammates were kind of surprised based off, some of their reaction, I guess, when asked about it.
Yeah, well, because nobody knew. And again,
I think they were kind of surprised too.
I feel, and again, I'm going to speculate because that's all we can do as humans. And we talk about that a bunch. We speculate when we want reasons that we don't have.
When the air's not cleared and we don't hear.
If he's looking at Cam Ward going, hey, I'm going to do what Cam Ward did. Again, the entire Miami Hurricane football program knew Cam Ward was going to play one half.
It was discussed.
All bowl prep. They knew what was up. That was not the case with Nick. And it's a bad look for Nick. So I hope Nick will clear the air on that one. Update on the Sugar Bowl, and it is not a good one for the Georgia Bulldogs. Be right back. Welcome back in. Final few minutes on this first show of 2025. Jay and Elijah with you. Carolina Calls with Coach Paris and Derek Scott coming up when we are done. And tonight at 6:30 over on our sister station here in Columbia, that is, here in Columbia alone, Carolina women's basketball conference opener at Missouri. 6:30 airtime with Brad on the call. 7 o'clock tip from Como. Gamecocks have not lost in conference play, regular season conference play at least, since a loss at Missouri 3 years ago. Right? A little over 3 years ago.
If it was in 2021, that'd be 4 years ago. 2021 was 4
but it
years
was it was like the very end of 2020.
That's right. I forget about that. Yeah.
So it was like 3 years and change ago.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think that's how they describe things. Isn't that one of Abe Lincoln's things? 3 years and change ago?
Oh, you're saying nuts. Yeah. Like, oh, nuts. Yeah.
That sounds official. Anyway, that's tonight.
I remember that speech was there.
That's tonight. And tomorrow, David Clonaker will be with us amongst others on a Friday. Georgia is down 13-3. It was 6-3 when I last talked with you about the game. Gunnar Stockton dropping back with about 30 seconds to go. Strip sack. Really just going back to pass and got another free run from a Notre Dame defender. Ball comes out. And one play later, Notre Dame scores a touchdown. So the Irish take a 10-point lead into the break. It is 13-3. And the Notre Dame defense Georgia's defense has been very good. Notre Dame's has been outstanding.
Yeah. They have 3 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. They have forced 2 fumbles.
Yeah.
I'm telling people, a lot of people took all a big dump on Indiana because Indiana was getting killed at Notre Dame. And I think a lot of people are watching Notre Dame for the first time in that football game.
Right.
That Notre Dame defense is for real. That is a really,
it's because of Notre Dame's
really good defense.
Loss to Northern Illinois. If they had lost, we talked about them a bunch. If they had lost to Illinois, I don't think it's as bad. If they had lost to
they had those
Southern California
in the college football season, the most inexplicable loss.
Yeah. I mean, they're actually really, really good.
And then since that game, they beat teams by like an average of 30 points.
Yeah, they're killing people.
Like they
have more. I just saw the stat go by. They have 42 more points off turnovers than any other school in the country. They are number 1 in points off turnovers by 42 points.
That's a lot, man. By a wide margin.
They're good at what they do, and they're playing like it right now. Georgia has some work to do, especially up front on offense, if they're going to get it going. RJ up next on the phone line this afternoon. Hey, RJ.
Hey, Jay. Hey, enjoy your show, guys. I have a question for you. Somebody asked me this today, and so I try to be as reasonable as I can. I wanted to ask you, if Shane would not have gone to the referees before the game started and said, hey, we're going to run this play, the kickoff throwback play, and Juju put his arms out and caught the ball, do you think the referees would have blown the whistle immediately?
Ooh.
Now, that's a rule, an unwritten rule, but I'm asking that question because in my opinion, thinking about it, if he puts his arms out and catches the ball, they're going to blow the whistle immediately because that's an unwritten rule. And I just wanted to ask you questions. I'll ask you that question. I'll hang up and let you talk.
Yeah,
Thanks,
gosh,
man.
Thank you. Wow,
I think they probably would have.
I think they probably. Here's the thing.
Which is why Shane cleared it with them beforehand, because I think Shane probably thinks if they did that, they would blow the play dead, even if that's not the official declaration of a touchback.
Because it's not.
The reason I think they didn't blow it dead was because he told them before, this is what we're going to do. Is this legal? Yes, and they cleared it.
Because
I think it would be fair to say
the T-bar symbol, if you will, whatever you want to call that, is really supposed to be, as I understand it, that's more of a signal to your team. Whereas the fair catch, obviously the above, that's obviously a rule.
Yes.
And when you fake fair catch, they'll flag you for that.
Yeah.
When I say you fake fair catch, if you start running,
hand up,
they'll either that or they'll just blow the play dead. Because basically you are signaling, that is a fair catch signal above the head, waving the arm. That is a signal to the entire football field that I'm not going to return this kick. Obviously, with a kick off, you don't have to catch it if it's in the end zone. But on a punt, you would. Anyway, do you, as an official, do you let the play go and then flag it and then discuss it?
Well, I don't think they would have flagged it because that specifically wouldn't be against the rules. But at the same time, you can't be faulted for blowing the play dead.
Right.
Like if you're an official and they do that and you didn't know they were going to do it.
Right.
And they catch the ball and you blow the play dead, you can't get mad at the official because
here's the thing.
You were signaling to your team that you're not going to do it.
Yeah, and if you had,
which is why you have to clear it beforehand.
Right.
Right.
Because they could. When I say it's not even inadvertent, but they could blow a whistle there, and even if it's a whistle that by rule shouldn't be blown, the rules also state that once the whistle is blown,
play's dead.
The play is dead. So there's that part of it too. So you could, I mean, I think Shane, in a sense, did the right thing by clearing it, which is also a signal that, well, then we may pull that off at some point or attempt to.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it. We left a few of you on the phone lines. I know it was a busy day.
Call us tomorrow.
We'll be here tomorrow, man. We still got so much more to discuss. DC will be with us and a whole lot more updates on the Sugar Bowl as well, or at least reaction. We'll see y'all then. So long. Carolina Calls is next.